Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. These are our top stories. Kenya is in mourning and launches an investigation into the helicopter crash that killed the military chief and 9 other senior officers. From tens of kilos of cocaine found in 2020 to more than a ton seized 2 years later in the Sahel, the UN warns drug trafficking is undermining security and development across the region. Political satire is thriving ahead of elections in South Africa. And the return of former President Jacob Zuma has brought this art form back to life. Kenya is now investigating the helicopter crash that killed the country's military chief. General Francis Omondi Ogola was among 12 passengers of the military aircraft that went down on Thursday afternoon shortly after takeoff. 2 survivors are being treated in hospital, and the country has begun 3 days of mourning. Our correspondent in Nairobi, Olivia Bizo, has the details.
The helicopter crashed shortly after taking off, killing Ogola, Kenya's military chief, and 9 other members of the army. 2 people did survive the crash. They're currently in critical care and undergoing treatment. The officers were in Kenya's North Rift region, which has been plagued by insecurity for years. They were there reopening a school which had been forced to close following attacks by bandits. Now, ever since the crash took place, lots of misinformation and speculation has been circulating on social media. Many people have been voicing their concern about the amount of crashes that have been taking place in the country. In the past year, 5 military helicopters have had accidents. And in September of last year, 8 people were killed when a helicopter crashed along Kenya's border with Somalia. Shortly after the crash took place this Thursday, Kenya's President William Ruto organised an emergency press conference, during which he said that the loss of Ogola and the 9 members of the army was a huge loss for Kenya. He also said that a team of investigators has been sent to the region to investigate the exact cause of the crash. Beginning today on Friday, Kenya will be observing a period of national mourning that will last for 3 days, and during this time, all national flags will be flown at half-mast.
Cocaine seizures in the Sahel have skyrocketed. A new report says an average of 13 kilos of cocaine were found across Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad and Niger each year from 2015 to 2020. By 2022, these had risen to 1.5 tons. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime warned that drugs trafficking are undermining security and development across the region. Srambat Peace is in Dakar.
The rise of drug trafficking in the Sahel in recent years has been meteoric, according to a new report from the UN. The paper only contains annual nationwide estimates going up to 2022, but the authors note that in 2023, 2.3 tons of cocaine were seized in Mauritania, exceeding the entire regional total from the year before. And just last weekend, more than a ton of cocaine was seized here in Senegal, in the biggest inland seizure in the country's history. The Sahel is increasingly used as a transit zone, notably for traffickers bringing cocaine from South America, hoping to eventually shift it onwards towards Europe. And the rise of trafficking across the region has been fueling instability.
You are talking about a multiplicity of factors. We have seen also the connection with armed groups, with non-state armed groups, and there are different Security Council reports, panel of experts in Libya, panel of experts in Mali, which talk about that. So there are already more and more evidence of interlinkages between drug trafficking groups, transnational organized crime groups, and also non-state actors. All these actors are also trying to create a space in the Sahel and in West Africa, and this creation of a space destabilizes also the stability and the peace in the region.
The UN report notes how the Sahel is now trapped in a kind of vicious cycle where drug trafficking fuels instability and armed conflict, which in turn makes it easier for drug trafficking to continue. The authors hope that the paper will serve as a kind of wake-up call, encouraging local authorities and the international community to double down with coordinated action to dismantle drug trafficking networks across the Sahel.
Now to Nigeria, where polystyrene and single-use plastics are now banned in Lagos. The authorities hope to put an end to what they describe as an environmental disaster. Polystyrene takes 500 years to decompose and is mainly used as meal containers in hundreds of thousands of street restaurants. And habits take time to change. Report by Chinwe Osundu and Moise Gomez.
Lagos State organizes the cleanup of Lagos Lagoon, an exercise that has to be done several times a day, each leading to the collection of dozens of kilos of polystyrene and plastics. Human activity in the megapolis generates 13,000 tons of waste every day.
It's challenging because the landfills that we have right now are filling up. So one of our major challenges is how to divert waste away from the landfill, which means recycling more, reducing the amount of waste we generate in the first place.
Refuse trucks operate 24 hours a day. In this neighborhood, almost 900,000 people live across 17 kilometers square. Some residents place their plastic waste on the main roads to make collection easier, but the majority throw it indiscriminately into the public spaces. Polystyrene, a byproduct of petroleum, is a particular problem. It's flammable and non-biodegradable.
We can't expose ourselves to so much danger as caused by styrofoam. Styrofoam is poison. It's like telling me you can keep poison for a longer time because you have been emotional about it. And we can't afford to do that to our people.
For Nkechi Anya, the ban of the use of polystyrene and single-use plastic in Lagos is a good decision. However, she is losing tens of thousands of euro in sales. This wholesaler used to supply polystyrene packs to hundreds of street restaurants. The timing of the ban surprised her. In her view, it will be necessary to raise awareness to the millions of customers of these street restaurants.
It's not just telling us to stop using this. Teaching our people how to dispose their waste is very, very important. If not, nylon, bottles, everything, we still go back into the drainage system.
Offering residents more recycling solutions is one of the challenges faced by Lagos State. Only 8% of the city's waste is recycled.
Meanwhile, climate activists came out on this Friday to protest against fossil fuel industries in Kisumu in Kenya. The protesters called for changes to stop global warming affecting the water near them and the ecosystems of those bodies of water. Let's hear some of them.
With the lake like Victoria Breathe Again, we note that over the past 50 years, fish populations, endemic fish populations in the lake have depleted by more than 66%. The ecosystem is being destroyed due to global warming, plastic pollution, and fossil fuel emissions into the lake. As of now, the lake is choking. The situation is not the same. We know that water hyacinth is still increasing, and this is because of the actions that man has taken, because of the decisions that have also not been made. So we are demanding that we need the lake to be the lifeline that it once was, to be free of plastic, to be free of oil.
Now to the not-to-be-missed event in the art world. The 60th International Art Exhibition is about to start this weekend in Venice. This year's theme, Foreigners Everywhere, with a focus on art, that migration, indigenous and queer art. Few countries are represented for the first time: Senegal, Benin and Ethiopia. Artist Tesfaye Urugesa from Addis Ababa was asked about what it meant for these countries to be there.
It's a great thing, but still it's a beginning. You know, Africa, there are 54 countries, and only like about 12 more countries are represented or having their own pavilion in Venice. Still a small amount, but it's a great beginning, but we have to work towards, the increment of, other African countries, so that, the Venice Biennale would be truly international in exhibition.
South Africa's general elections will take place on May 29th, which allows political satire to thrive with famous cartoonists like Nathi Ngubane and Zapiro. Enough material to find inspiration, especially with their favorite subject, former President Jacob Zuma. Story by Sophie Lamotte.
For the South African cartoonist, the upcoming election brought an unexpected gift, the surprise comeback of his favourite character, former President Jacob Zuma.
He'll be contesting in the elections as the MK party, and I'm positively sure that didn't go too well with the ANC. So I am actually basically drawing Zuma spear stabbing the bum of the president to show that I'll be contesting and I'll see you.
After decades of censorship under the apartheid regime, political satire is now part of the social fabric.
I have every right as a South African living in a democracy to criticize anyone that is on the wrongdoing.
Forced out of office under a cloud of corruption in 2018, Jacob Zuma has returned with a bang as the head of a new opposition party, Umkhonto we Sizwe, or MK. The move has shaken up South African politics, with polls showing MK could win more than 10% of the votes in the May 29th election. Almost 1,500 kilometers away in the legislative capital, Cape Town, South Africa's most famous cartoonist, Zapiro, has been using his arts as a form of resistance for decades.
The next 5 years is going to be unbelievably scary. I mean, because we can sink so far that, you wait like 6 years for the next lot to happen. You look at the indices, the Corruption Watch and all these indices at the moment we're sinking.
The May legislative elections could be a game changer for Nelson Mandela's ANC party, expected to achieve its worst results in 3 decades and potentially lose its parliamentary majority.
And before we leave you these images from New York, let's support Nigerian chess champion. He's attempting to break the global record for the longest chess marathon. Tunde Onakoya is trying to play chess non-stop for 58 hours. And he's hoping to raise $1 million for children's education across Africa. And the current chess marathon record is 56 hours, 9 minutes and 37 seconds, achieved in 2018. Good luck. Well, thank you for watching this edition of Eye on Africa. Stay with us for more news.